to be joined by Jimmy Dore of the Jimmy Dore Show. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing great, Jordan. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been a while. I think that I do. Been, hold on one
Oh,
second.
we're getting feedback, right?
Yeah, Colin, feedback. Good. All right. All right. Restarting. Jimmy Dore, delighted to have you. I got to say, I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but boy, a couple months ago, you were being attacked as pretty, pretty, pretty much Lucifer among the Sam Cedar crowd. But I headlined the Surrender Squad, because there is no resistance. There is no squad. I mean, they basically assimilated into the corporate Democratic uh, monster. And they're pretty much, their strategy is writing Joe Biden letters asking him kindly to do things. Simply put, I guess I could say, how does it feel to be correct?
Well, I honestly, it doesn't feel that good. I mean, I'm glad to be vindicated, and that the smears of me were just based on people tone policing me. But I'd rather they actually would have strategized, worked together, and voted as a block and got something for their vote. That's what I would have rather happen. But if that's not going to happen, I would like all the people who protected them in bad faith ways, and part of it was smearing me. I would like them to be revealed. Yeah, I'd like to. I would like them to have to pay a price for that. That's nice to see. The Young Turks are. I think people see through them. I think people see through Ryan Grimm at the Intercept if you want to. So that's where we're at. So I'll take it. It didn't take long for them to reveal that they were never going to strategize. The only time they did strategize their vote, Jordan, I don't know if I'm sure you saw, was when they voted to present so that the cops could get funded to the tune of $2 billion extra dollars. That was the only time they actually strategized so that they had just enough votes to make that pass. So unfortunately, the only time the squad is willing to actually work in coordination with each other and strategize their votes is to make sure that the cops get more money.
Well, the thing that I find infuriating is, like, force the vote, which I was for. You couldn't have a better situation, but you still couldn't have a better situation, unfortunately, because things are crumbling all around us. If you wanted a real progressive revolt with teeth, you got an eviction time bomb coming. The moratorium's up at the end of the month. The jobs that have come back are mostly shitty service sector jobs. The states all over the country are ending unemployment prematurely, even though most people haven't returned to work.
Right.
This the CNBC crowd is pretending,
Yes.
that the economy is roaring back. Of course, it's not. So, like, this is a major opportunity for progressive elected so-called progressives to, put their foot down and say, yeah, we have the people behind us, and it would galvanize the troops. The Bernie 2016, even all of these progressives
Yes.
rallied around Bernie, and they're just totally squandering it.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, when there still is yet to be a cogent, coherent argument against doing forced to vote. There just isn't, and that's why when AOC decided to engage about forced to vote on Twitter with Justin Jackson, she got owned. She got completely humiliated by Justin Jackson, a professional football player, because her first three reasons were complete and utter transparent bullshit. To the point where the only reason left was Rashida Tlaib said, like 2 months after forced to vote was over, that she didn't want to do forced to vote because it would have lost, and that would have set the Medicare for All movement backwards. Now that is just made up. That is Chomsky said pretty much the same thing. That is ahistorical. There's no historical moment you could point to say, look, when they fought for this policy and then it set it back. That's not a thing. That's not. Can you imagine if they were holding a vote on the floor in the middle of a deadly pandemic for Medicare for all, something that's overwhelmingly popular? You know how many rallies there would have been? You know how many fucking emails, how many letters to the editor? You know how much, you know how that would have galvanized the troops? That's how you build momentum. You don't build momentum by not extracting something for your vote. That's not how it works. And of course, we all know that. And so that's why it seems crazy to me that people will pretend that the people who are against forced to vote were arguing in good faith. They were not. I have still yet to find one good faith argument against forced to vote. There's another bullshit one that Ryan Grimm threw out the other day. He said, well, I was against it because it became a litmus test. Yeah, it fucking should be a litmus test. Just like it's a litmus test, you don't take corporate money. Just like it's a litmus test, you're for Medicare for all, and you force a vote. Yeah, it's a litmus test. If you're not going to vote as a block and strategize and do what you campaigned on, yeah, that's my litmus test.
I also, at a certain point, you have to wonder, like, are they not? Because I think part of it is they're just spineless. I think part of it is they've been seduced by this mentality of, you got to think the long game. But the other thing is, Joe Biden has put on his Mitt Romney flip-flops. He literally has abandoned the very few promises he made: $15 minimum wage, public option, $2,000 checks. He wants to give the police more money as they execute black men. And they're pretty much completely quiet on it, other than a few tweets. There's really no pushback as he totally abandons the very few promises that they do make. And they are, in my view, joining on to Biden and the Democrats as they do the typical strategy of creating a boogeyman. Now they're elevating Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they want that to be the focus heading into the midterms. So it would paper over that they're not actually doing any of the things they promised.
You're 100% right. I would just say I don't know how spineless they are, because they don't have any problem launching reckless smears like when AOC said that I was committing violence against her, when I was just literally exposing that she's not doing what she ran on doing. So I don't think it's spinelessness. I just think that they're just being revealed to be, as Chris Hedges said, the politics attracts the most mediocre of people to begin with. And, they're mostly narcissists and craven. And that's being revealed right now, right? They're not. And even, our everybody's favorite Uncle Bernie Sanders has proven himself to be a go-along guy, and he's never going to really fight the establishment. These people just are, they like being in the club. It's if you're in Congress, you get $175,000 a year, plus you get a huge staff, plus you get all the perks. And plus, you're going to get a lot of speaking fees. What was AOC's speaking fee at her agency? It was $75,000 to $150,000 a speak. It's a nice life. So right. They just don't want to upset the apple cart. And they were elected specifically to do that. Now, why is it that the Freedom Caucus, Jordan, had no problem doing what they were elected to go do, but the Justice Democrats won't do it all? And when you point that out, people say you're a misogynist. Your horseshoe theory. You're to the right. You're defending it's crazy with the things they say. All I'm doing is I'm asking the people who are elected as progressives to do what they campaigned on, and somehow that makes me an asshole. Okay.
Right. I want to show Biden, who ran. We were fed from MSNBC and all of them that no, this is the guy that could actually get things done. This is the guy who could magically, he's pragmatic and he knows Washington and blah, blah, blah. Let's hear Biden now. Apparently, he is completely impotent as president of the United States.
And June should be a month of action on Capitol Hill. I hear all the folks on TV saying, why doesn't Biden get this done? Well, because Biden only has a majority of effectively 4 votes in the House and a tie in the Senate, with 2 members of the Senate who vote more with my Republican friends. But we're not giving up. Earlier this year,
so essentially, it went from I'm the guy, it's kind of like that Hillary Clinton, I'm the progressive who gets things done, to I can't lift a finger to go after Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, work any magic on Republicans. We can't do anything. So, enjoy expanded Obamacare. That's about it.
Yeah, that was the criticism that they used to make of Bernie Sanders, that Bernie wasn't going to be able to get anything done. And here's Joe Biden saying the exact, I can't get anything done because I know we're in the majority and I'm the president and we have a super, what the fuck else do you need? So again, and I want to go back to the first earlier point about what the squad is doing. They were sent there to not work with the Democrats, but to be a revolution inside that party and fight against them and expose them. They're not doing any of that. In fact, they're defending Joe Biden. So instead of pushing Joe Biden left, embarrassing him, and using his own words against him, all the stuff they're supposed to do, they're not. They're saying Joe Biden gets an A plus. I give him an A. This is the most progressive president ever. We've got to come. It's nuts what's going on. And so what I tell people is, if you have a conscience, you will vote third party for the rest of your life, because how dare you vote for these people? Joe Biden, a racist, warmongering puppet and tool of Wall Street and an enemy of the workers, and somehow you're going to pat yourself on the back that you're a good person. It's time to start voting third party, no matter what the third party is, whether it's Movement for a People's Party, whether it's the Greens, Socialist Alternative. You got to stop giving your vote to these two corrupt, murderous parties.
Right. And I want to show, this is from today, actually, Cori Bush, who just became a congresswoman. I actually know her from coverage I did in St. Louis years ago. I was actually arrested covering Cori Bush and many other Black Lives Matter protesters. And, another.
Hey, who was the first show? Who was the first show to have Cori Bush on? Do you know which show was that?
Was that the Jimmy Dore show?
That was the Jimmy Dore show.
Oh, there you go. So at least when I met her and covered her and interviewed her, she was cutthroat, man. She was working 12, 13-hour day shifts as a nurse and then on the streets every day. So again, pre-becoming a congresswoman, I mean, if you would have asked me, I would have said she would be fighting Biden and the Democrats to the tooth. But she just tweeted out this today. I spoke with POTUS in Tulsa. I told them we're dying in St. Louis. The police kill us at the highest rate in the nation. Community members and children are murdered at the highest rates. Mr. President, I'm inviting you to our community to hear our stories. We need your partnership. Well, Jimmy, I mean, at a certain point, this is like asking the arsonist who burned down your house to come rebuild it. I mean, part of why St. Louis has the highest, one of the highest police killings rate is because Joe Biden sent the police weapons of war with the crime bill. It's like, I like Cori Bush as a person, but you're trying to work with somebody who literally is in large part responsible for the problem. And it just seems like they don't get that.
I think they do get that. I can't believe that they're dumber than me, a YouTube host. So I'm pretty sure they see what's happening. They all have high-paid staffs around them to advise them that have nothing else to do but read all day and advise. So this idea that somehow these politicians don't see the bigger picture, I just don't believe that. I just think that this is what happens, right? Again, the most mediocre of people are drawn to politics. They sold out before they even got in Congress. It's amazing, right? And then other people will say, well, you can't sell out if you don't take corporate money. Hey, for whatever reason, you're not working in the interest of the people who elected you. That's a sellout. So you're either doing it for your own career, you're doing it to feel comfortable, you're doing it for corporate money, you're doing it for speaking engagements, you're doing it to get invitations to certain things, you're doing it for future, whatever it is, you're not acting in the interest of your constituents. That's selling out. You're voting and you're doing things for another purpose. That's a sellout. I don't care if they don't take corporate money. That's a very narrow, shallow view of what a sellout can be. So these people are, again, and if you don't pressure them, you have to pressure politicians. You have to make them scared. I've had other YouTube hosts say, well, I think that the way to win over people is to be nice to them. Yeah, I'm not inviting someone to a prom. We're trying to get politicians to do the bidding of the people against the corporation. So you're going to have to scare the shit out of them. That's how you do it. You hold their feet to the fire and you make them scared to death more of you than they are of the corporation. You don't do that by being nice to them, you morons.
Right. And I will also point out, if it wasn't enough that Biden abandoned all the few policy proposals he said he was for, it just came out today. I mean, this is from the Amazon Post. The Washington Post. Biden's privately calling Lawrence Summers Lawrence Summers, he recently called, who has been openly critical of it.
Jesus God.
Just a rundown. Lawrence Summers, who pushed Glass-Steagall, which destroyed the global economy, led to the financial crash, who pushed NAFTA, who pushed welfare reform. He was a Bill Clinton administration person who Obama brought back in. I mean, literally, he's moving. I texted you earlier. It's like, no, he's not doing better than Obama. It's like he wants to move towards Bill Clinton.
Exactly right. Remember, the irony of Obama was when he ran for president the first time, he was like, well, you can't have the same people who drove you into the ditch drive you out of it, right? That was his big thing. And of course, he did that. And here we are again now, Joe Biden, going back to Larry Summers, a serial loser. I mean, by loser, I mean everything he does turns out to be a failure. He gets to be rewarded personally, Larry Summers. You know, he gets millions of dollars everywhere he goes, he gets appointed president of universities and things like that, and then he wrecks them. I mean, the guy's a walking disaster, but he's exactly who the corporation likes. So that's why Larry Summers is always going to be on everybody's lips, because he does what the corporations want. I mean, that's not a secret. I mean, the guy's so again, and Joe Biden, it's no secret why Joe Biden's president. The bankers got together on Martha's Vineyard and they chose Kamala Harris. Well, because she was the biggest tool to Wall Street, right? Well, Kamala Harris couldn't get a vote. So then they switched to Joe. Let's go to trusty old Joe Biden, the guy who's been a tool of Wall Street his entire career. And so then they got both of them on the same ticket. So when Joe Biden finally kicks the bucket, they'll have Kamala Harris. I mean, it's amazing how much Wall Street really runs the politics in this country. It is really scary and frightening.
Right. And, I want to show you something. We just launched a Substack, and I broke a story today. People could check it out, statuscoup.com, statuscoup.substack.com. So I went to Amazon in Staten Island yesterday, and literally Amazon has built a fence outside the warehouse to block unionization efforts. New York is not Alabama. It's got 22% of workers are unionized, which is the highest rate in the country. Literally, you have Amazon all over this warehouse. People can check out the photos in the story. Don't be fooled by the vest. Don't be misled. These organizers might come to your home, all these things. I had one woman literally tell me a story that in the beginning of the pandemic, she asked her managers if they could give an N95 mask to a senior, an older Amazon worker who was a diabetic. All of the managers, all the supervisors had N95 masks, and they said, no, you need a doctor's note. The reason I bring this up is literally MSNBC, CNN, CNBC is talking about how the economy is roaring back. And, Shin's taking credit for this, but literally Amazon, Walmart, fast food, it's like the economic Hunger Games out there. At Amazon yesterday, I couldn't believe it. The signs out there, the fence they put up with a beware of dogs sign. They called the union, they have consultants in there as union busters calling the organizers thugs. This is going on. It's not completely Biden's fault, but let me tell you something. This is not a roaring economy. This is an exploitation economy. And Biden's not pushing things like the PRO Act, is he?
Biden's not pushing anything. He won't even push the thing he ran on, which is the $15 minimum wage. I mean, people were complaining that, these workers don't want to get off the couch and go work. They'd rather stay home and take unemployment. What does it tell you that people would rather stay home and take their shitty unemployment payment than go to your goddamn job? That means your job is horrible. So we live in these third world working conditions. People don't want to, and again, no one gets health care in America. We don't have a healthcare system. So, Jill and Radigan said on my show at the beginning of this COVID pandemic that we're going to slide into being Brazil. Unless we have serious direct action and social unrest, we're going to slide into being like Brazil. And we had a whole summer of social protests about the police and defunding the police. And what did they do? They're upfunding the police. It's going the exact opposite way. So I don't really have any hope for our country right now. I don't mean to sound too cynical, but it just isn't there. Even when I try to do something like force the vote to get a vote on Medicare for all in the middle of a deadly pandemic, to get a vote on it, which is what has been an agreed upon policy on the left for generation, half the left turned on me. It's just amazing, right? That's how committed they are to getting Medicare for all. I mean, every organization that's supposed to be doing that, the DSA, that's their policy to get a vote. They wouldn't do it. So my point of bringing this up is that there's really no lefty institutions going out there to be lefty. And then when we elect people like the Justice Democrats to go to Congress and mix it up, they just become just regular Democrats. So I don't know, Jordan, do you have any hope for the future of this country?
A general strike. That's my hope. And I hope.
But how do we get there? Everybody said, how do we get to a general? That seems like if we had people like Bernie and AOC and Ro Khanna out there leading it, that might happen. But I don't see it happening without a big push like that. What do you say?
I think the conditions will be there because we saw that there is a possibility for a mass mobilization. We saw that last year. That was for race, civil rights, Black Lives Matter.
Right.
We saw young people will go out if they are pissed off enough. The problem is those young people are also reading AOC's tweets and
right.
They're not being galvanized towards this. But at the end of the day, I mean, the reports are 11 million people might be evicted. I think that's wildly underscoring it, not to mention all the people that have gone into debt to pay their rent. I think the conditions are there. I'm not going to lie to you and say I know how to make it happen, but the conditions are there. And it's worse than it was. It's basically the same conditions as Occupy Wall Street when that started. So right. I'm hoping. But speaking of people letting us down, you've been a one-man TYT demolition crew recently. I'm not going to lie, I've loved every minute of it. And I wanted to mention, you know, to TYT and Cenk's credit back in the day, I don't know if Bernie's 2016, whatever that is now, the revolution, the progressive awakening, I don't know if it would have taken off the way it did without TYT, progressive media, independent media. TYT, woke a lot of people up or introduced Bernie and progressive policies to a lot of people. So when I see, this tweet today, it's like in a row of other terrible tweets and takes. Cenk Uygur, my former boss there, I'm proud that TYT is not in any camp. We point out BS of Democrats and Republicans. We point out absurdities of those in the extreme left that weirdly have become obsessed with defending Russia. The establishment lies incessantly to protect the status quo, and Trump is a lunatic. I used to call them a coked out version of MSNBC, but now they're just MSNBC because extreme left, that's the kind of language you hear on cable news. The radical left, yes. Far left, the extreme left. And I don't know if for 5 years, 80% of your stuff has been loser Donald and tyrannical Donald, I would say you are in a camp.
Come on, Jordan, for Cenk Uygur to try to pretend that he hasn't chosen a side. Are you fucking kidding me? The guy's if you didn't vote for Hillary, I was called every name in the book at the Young Turks on air because I wouldn't vote for Hillary. You're telling me that guy didn't fucking pick a side? Are you shitting me? The guy, he is Mr. Partisan. He's tweeting out things about today. He tweeted out about how the Republicans are committed to starting violence. And if you don't think this, you're a dupe. And he's just as big a partisan hack as there could ever possibly be. The reason why me and all my friends who worked for the Young Turks stopped watching the Young Turks in 2016 was because he became just another arm of the Clinton campaign. That it was discussed, loser Donald doing 55 minutes out of an hour show shitting on Donald Trump, and you're telling me that you're somehow independent, that you're calling fastball, you're just calling balls and strikes. I mean, everybody sees through TYT and the Young Turks, which is why nobody's watching them anymore. They don't even get half as many live stream viewers as my show does, and I'm a jagoff comedian in my garage, and that's not hyperbole. And they've got a public relations firm. They've got 80 employees. They've got 20 executives. They've got managers and middle managers and supervisors, and they've got marketing, and they get less than half the live stream viewers than my show gets in my garage. They got $24 million from right-wingers and corporatists, and they get half the live stream viewers as I get in my garage. Well, that just tells you that people see through them. 9 out of 10 paying members to the Young Turks, 9 out of 10 supported forced the vote. And I think that was the watershed moment for them. They're like, hey, I've had enough. And I think they're all abandoning ship.
And I also think going back to, I said it's such a wasted opportunity right now for the House and Senate progressives, because you couldn't have better conditions for a progressive revolt.
Right.
And here you have
Yes.
a company with actual resources. I mean, Status was literally scratching quarters together to go out in the field, report in Flint and many other places that no one else is covering. We actually go out there with way less resources than TYT, yet they've got resources. I don't know where that $20 million went, because they were begging people to give them money during a pandemic. I don't know where the 20 million went, or the 2 million that they fundraised. But, you know, it's such a squandered opportunity. They don't go out and report. They don't cover a lot of progressive issues. They're not covering the Standing Rock stories anymore, the Flint stories anymore. It's basically telling us what we already know, that Republicans are terrible. And they're honestly going into a lot of the culture war stuff. And at a certain point, you have to wonder, I mean, what is the motivation here? It can't just be that there's no motive driving it, Jimmy.
Their motive was Cenk Uygur wanted to be bigger than CNN. He told me that. Yeah, their motive was that they know. I was told by an executive at TYT after they took that $20 million, Jimmy, we know we have to move to the center. That's what we were told. We couldn't swear on TV anymore. We had to wear suit coats. That it was all this shit that came out. I was like, what? This is really happening? You guys are becoming what you're supposed to be the antidote to? Of course. So it's all Cenk, Cenk Uygur's ego, which was his greatest strength, which gave him the ability to create a company like that. But it also is now taking him down because he was so hungry to be seen as big as CNN that he went corporate, took the money, sold out what got him popular in the first place, and now everybody's abandoning ship, and he sees that his career, his days are numbered for the Young Turks. They're no longer ever going to be who they ever were, and that's why he's using terminology like the far extreme left. What? I remember when they used to write articles about the Young Turks saying they were the extreme left, and now Cenk Uygur's like, look at the extreme left. It's like, well, when you're welcome on Chris Cuomo, I guess you're no longer perceived as a threat by the establishment. And that's why Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian are welcomed on Chris Cuomo's show. And we'll never call out Chris Cuomo.
And honestly, I mean, real quick, I remember when I was at TYT, and again, it was a great opportunity. I got to cover a lot of great things, but I mean, Cenk dragged my ass down to Washington for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'm like, why the hell are we down here for the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Oh, no, we're having a party. We're inviting other outlets, this and that. It was all people from like the Huffington Post and, these quote unquote liberal outlets. And he was having the time of his life, like hobnobbing with a lot of these corporate quote unquote journalists. And I was just like, something's not right here. I mean, whatever, they have a business, whatever, but like, don't you exist to shit on the White House Correspondents' Dinner? It just, they've literally, it seems, lost their way. I mean, it's good for you. Obviously, your viewership is taking off. But it's really sad to me for the progressive movement that they have become this, honestly, second version of MSNBC.
What at least what's weird is the bullshitting around it, trying to pretend, just like that tweet today, trying to pretend we haven't picked a side. Really, you guys are just as cool with the Republicans as you are with the Democrats, you fucking liars. It's just the amount of lying and gaslighting and bullshitting and televangelist style fundraising that the Young Turks has to do to stay above water. It's just, is it worth it? What are you doing? Why do you need 80 people to do the same show that I can do with 3? Why do you need all those people? I don't understand. Anyway, it's, I do understand. Cenk Uygur wanted to be as big as CNN, and he thought him getting on that YouTube TV app, he thought that was going to be a game changer, and that was going to put him up there with CNN. And of course, nobody wants to watch your content. I mean, that's the whole thing was you were an outsider, Cenk. You were the alternative news. And just like when I told Cenk after the election in 2016, when they would have their power panel and they would have 4 Hillary voters on their power panel, I go, Cenk, you're not alternative news. When you have everybody that could be an MSNBC panel, you're not alternative. You should have someone on that panel that didn't vote for Hillary Clinton and didn't vote for Donald Trump. That'd be in a real alternative news show. And he said, no, thanks. You're not allowed. You're not welcome on. I said, could you put me on the panel? And he said, no, thanks. I'm not going to put you on the Friday panel. And I said, why? I'm the most popular host besides you. And he goes, because I have to make another Jimmy Dore. What? You have to, by the way, how did that work out? Did you end up making another Jimmy Dore? How did that work out for you?
For the record, I told him you should put Jimmy before you. Put him 5:30, a half-hour show like the Young Turks daily. I mean, it would be good for your viewership. It would be good for your company. You'd probably get a lot more paid members. And then he put you behind a paywall, from what I remember.
Well, that's exactly what the show was supposed to be, because the Young Turks, hosted by Cenk and Anna, got so horrible that none of us could watch it none of us aggressive progressives could watch it anymore. So we came up with an idea to do a show that would rebut what the Young Turks were doing. And we were going to put it on at 6 o'clock, like after Cenk, right? And so we would put it on an hour after him. And he said yes. And so we all got excited. And then the week before it started, he goes, hey, it's going behind a paywall. And then that was that. So that's who Cenk Uygur is. The good thing is, I think because of Force the Vote, everybody sees it now. And everybody sees now they're smearing Aaron Mate. So he's literally, Aaron Mate's he's debunking the pro-war CIA narrative. He's on the ground in Syria debunking that bullshit pro-war narrative. Cenk Uygur is pushing it. When he says, why are you defending Russia? He's referring to Aaron Mate, who won an award for debunking Russiagate. Whereas Cenk ruined his reputation pushing McCarthy smears. And now he's McCarthy smearing a true independent, award-winning journalist, Aaron Mate, who's on the ground in Syria. So Cenk, instead of doing vague smears on your show with Anna and doing vague smears in your tweets, why wouldn't you? Where's your reporter on the ground in Syria? You got $24 million from right-wingers and corporatists. You don't have a reporter to go to Syria to debunk what Aaron Mate said? All you're going to do is say he's defending Russians like a true hack that Cenk Uygur is? I mean, there's no lower rung that you can be as a human being, let alone journalist, than the rung Cenk Uygur's on right now. McCarthy smearing people, risking their lives, sticking their chin out to go against the CIA narrative and the establishment narrative on war, an anti-war journalist who's gotten it right so often he testifies in front of the UN and he won a fucking independent news award for it. And Cenk Uygur's going to smear that guy as defending Russians, because that's all Cenk Uygur has is smears, because he's an empty person with no integrity. And his company is done. He sees he's not getting any views. He sees it's over with. He's got to get another corporate funding to stay alive, or his company's going bankrupt. And that's why he's doing reckless McCarthy smears. And by the way, I bet he's going to get sued for that. They took down that episode. So if you go to the episode where they called Aaron Mate taking money from the Russians, all that stuff, if you go to the TYT.com, they've scrubbed that episode. So they know they're doing wrong things. And Cenk Uygur is not an honest actor. Cenk Uygur is being revealed for the duplicitous, hack, grifting, liar, fuck, corporatist cocksucker that he is. And everybody sees it.
Tell them how you really feel. 2 quick questions. I'm hearing all this talk, how are we going to save our democracy? Obviously, the Republicans are doing unprecedented, terrible things to restrict voting. But then the Democrats are jumping on with this messaging, we have to save democracy, save democracy. But these are the same Democrats that have rigged every primary, closing down polling places, tossing out ballots, the shadow app, this and that. I'm tired of seeing all these libtards on Twitter talking about saving democracy when we don't have a democracy. I wanted to ask you, are you worried about the threat to our democracy that they're ranting about?
I am not concerned. What I've tried to tell people is that your democracy was stolen from you a long time ago. What was Ben Mankiewicz used to have a funny pinned tweet. He was like, I don't see why people are against the Electoral College just because 40% of the elections in this century have gone to the loser. So it's just kind of funny, right? We don't have a democracy. You and I both know it. They did a study at, was it Princeton? They did that study where they proved we live in an oligarchy, that if you don't fall into the upper 20% of income earners, your opinions are never reflected in legislation. So this idea that your vote matters or that you're going to get your concerns taken care of through their government or through legislation or politics. It's not. That's over that game. So the only thing. Look what's happening right now. I mean, in the middle of a pandemic, we're the only country that won't give people health care. We don't have a living wage. We won't even give people a public option. We won't even give people education, relieve public debt. But they did give $20 billion more to Raytheon. That's enough money to end homelessness, by the way, $20 billion. That's how they could have gave $20 billion in student debt relief. They didn't do any of that. They just gave it to, so we live in a broken, I mean, it's not broken. It works exactly how Wall Street and the donor class want it. So we don't live in a democracy. We live in an oligarchy. So when they get afraid we might lose our democracy, it's hilarious because we lost it a long time ago. This is officially an oligarchy.
And finally, as far as status quo, to me, the biggest threat to the progressive movement right now, or just working people, is Silicon Valley, because
Yes.
you can't accomplish anything if there is an information war and they are hiding alternative voices. I know your channel has been affected. Our channel,
Yes.
surely, as we've grown, we're at 118,000 subscribers now. Our views have tanked, it's supposed to be the opposite. As you grow, your views go up.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we're going live to 150 people. A good day is 300 people. We have people telling us, I never see you anymore on YouTube. I don't see your tweets, this and that. It's happening to you, Kyle Kalinske. Thankfully, you had a ton of subscribers before they started this. It really is, it's very difficult to inform people. Right now, I have to think, do I really want to spend as a company $4 or $5 grand to go to Flint or somewhere else if we're going to go live to 200 people? And it starts getting in your head like, wait, do people suddenly, are they not interested? Are we losing our thing? I mean, how do you build anything? How do you build a progressive movement? How would you even build a general strike if they're literally hiding your content? I wanted to ask you, how has it been for you? And what's your message to people? Because I think a lot more people need to wake up and honestly start a Twitter strike, start a Facebook strike. If we have to, start a YouTube strike, because I mean, eventually it's going to be kicking us off the platform.
Well, what I tell people is that we have to get them to realize that Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are public utilities in the same way a telephone used to be 30, 40 years ago, right? So you can't do business without a telephone. Well, you can still open a business. AT&T doesn't have to give you up. They're a private company. No, they do. They can't deny you telephone service. Everybody knows it's a public utility. They can't deny you water. They can't deny you electricity. You can't take away the KKK's telephone because you don't like the shit they're saying on the telephone. So I'm trying to get people to shift the way they perceive this issue to see YouTube. And so now, well, you can still do a news show, Jordan, without YouTube. Yes, but guess who gets to use YouTube? ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, everybody. So everybody else has this unbelievable, huge advantage that now Jordan Chariton and people who are independent don't get to have. All we want is a level playing field. I don't want an advantage over Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or TYT. I just want a level playing field. I just want the same algorithm and I want the same rewards if I do good content that they get. That's all we're asking for. So that's what I try to tell people is those are the two. People think you want special treatment. People think that somehow they're a private company, so they don't have. No, what they shouldn't. This shouldn't be allowed to happen anymore. You can't run a business just like you couldn't run a business 30, 40 years ago without a telephone. You can't run a business now without social media. That's just a fact. You can't build a business, especially if you're in the information business. Google and Facebook control 70% of all the news flow in America. So now they control the politics of America because that's a lot of power to have in the information. So these are all things that people need to start hearing over and over and over for it to finally sink in. You can't get rid of the phone for the KKK, just like you shouldn't be able to get rid of the YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook for somebody you disagree with. So these should be considered public utilities. And if somebody's doing something illegal on YouTube, there's already police, there's already cops, there's already a court system. If somebody's doing something illegal in a newspaper, that's what they do. You have to get a lawsuit. You go in front of a court. Well, why is it if somebody's doing something that you think might not be right on YouTube, that somehow some Silicon Valley guy can come in and shut them down? So I'm trying to get people to shift their focus. the way they frame and think about these issues. Of course, I'm being fraud like crazy. I was getting 16 to 18 million views before at the beginning of coronavirus, and then that was under a bad algorithm, and now there's even a worse algorithm, and now I'm down to 6 million views a month. And they brag the thing, and the reason I know it's due to the algorithm is because my subscribers growth has just stopped. We were blessed. We should have been past 1 million a year ago, and we're just stuck at 867. And they brag, but YouTube brags that they have suppressed views to what they consider borderline content by 80%. And guess what they consider borderline content? Independent news. So they're now bragging to the corporate press that YouTube's algorithm has suppressed independent news by 80%. They think that's a victory. So if you think that's a victory, then you don't really care about free speech or independent news voices, because that's a big loss for the country, for the culture, for independent news, for everybody, for our future. That's a huge loss. And if you want more, what we need is more voices, not less. 6 companies own every news agency. The same people working, Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow and Sean Head, they're all working for the same 6 companies. So, and the same handful of billionaires. So that's why this is important, and we need to wrestle social platforms away from private companies, and we need to make them public utilities, and we need to get people to understand why that is.
And I think, frankly, the perfect example, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit when you leave. How are you supposed to take on a company like Amazon? How are you supposed to build a successful union movement if, for example, I was live yesterday from the warehouse showing that they literally built a fence to block workers trying to unionize? If nobody sees it, if you're live to 250 people, if nobody's aware what's going on, you can't build any type of movement, whether it's economic, social. If they're burying what these corporations, politicians are doing, there's no successful progressive movement. So I think,
and what people don't realize, Jordan, is one of the ways they suppress is, let's say you did a video on Amazon. And so I want to go see this story about Amazon. I heard Amazon building fences. So I put in Amazon fences into the Google search. Your video won't come up. It'll come up the Hill's video or CNN's video or some other corporate entity's video will come up. Yours won't be. So that's how, so you literally have to go to Jordan Chariton's channel, do it to try to find, and that's a completely unfair level playing field.
Literally, people are typing in status quo and it doesn't come up. That's the level.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree, and I hope at a certain point, progressive, independent media comes together more, collaborates more to try and combat this, because it's coming for everybody, big and small. Jimmy, thank you very much for taking the time. I look forward to your next live stream, and thanks for being a good friend.
Okay, good to talk to you, Jordan. Take care. Good luck, buddy.
Thanks, man. That was the great Jimmy Dore on the Jimmy Dore Show on YouTube. And he's definitely a lightning rod, but I think he's been proven right a lot more than wrong, particularly about forced to vote. And, call them what you want. I call it the surrender squad, because they are literally asleep, or they're awake and choosing not to do a damn thing, as Biden abandons $15 minimum wage, as Biden abandons a public option, which wasn't enough, as Biden abandons $2,000 checks, as Biden lowers his offer on infrastructure, as Biden wastes time trying to negotiate with Mitt Romney. It's all absurd. It's all absurd. I want to move on real quick to a story we broke at our Substack today. If you didn't see this, by the way, join our Substack. It's statuscoup.substack.com. You could sign up for free or become a paid member, whichever one's better for you. Obviously, we appreciate our paid members. But I literally went to Amazon's warehouse yesterday in Staten Island. For those of you that don't know, Staten Island is where Christian Smalls, the Amazon worker, worked in 2020 when he was fired for the crime of trying to organize workers to demand Amazon put in better safety precautions for COVID. He was fired. He was lied about. He was smeared all over the internet by Amazon, to the point where the Attorney General of New York has filed a lawsuit against Amazon for their illegal retaliation against Christian Smalls, as well as for their horrendous and flagrantly dangerous working conditions during COVID. So after Bessemer, Alabama failed to unionize, which Amazon did a lot of illegal union busting down there, they're now trying to unionize at this Staten Island warehouse. So I went there. It is literally like a scene out of a dystopian movie. If you go to this warehouse, Colin, if you could bring it up. Amazon is bombarding New York workers with anti-union messages. This is from our Substack, statuscoup.substack.com. On the heels of Amazon's scorched earth and likely illegal union busting campaign in Bessemer, Alabama, that defeated workers' attempts to unionize, Status Coup has obtained photos from inside Amazon's Staten Island warehouse, known as JFK 8, that shows the company's aggressive union busting in the face of efforts by current and former workers trying to form a union. The union drive organizers, who have formed Amazon Labor Union, recently filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board after Amazon erected a chain link fence around the warehouse parking lot in order to force the ALU, Amazon Labor Union organizers, to a location with less foot traffic, seemingly to prevent them from getting workers to sign a union card. So there's the fence, if you could see. There's the tent that the workers are trying to pass out union cards. At one point, the fence had a beware of dog sign. Not sure if the workers trying to organize are the dogs. I don't know what dogs they're talking about, but they literally put beware of dog signs up next to this fence that they built. But Amazon's union busting is even fiercer inside the warehouse, submerging workers with anti-union visuals throughout their 10 to 12-hour workday. Quote, "We have been bombarded with misinformation and lies for the past month in the bathrooms, in the break rooms, at the entrance." Natalie Monarez told Status Coup on Wednesday. She's a worker inside this Staten Island warehouse while they were trying to pass out union cards. So here's just one of the signs. "Know before you sign. Make sure you know the facts before you decide whether or not to sign a union card. Signing an authorization card may obligate you to pay the union a monthly fee," the billboard goes on to say. The messaging escalates to all-out fear-mongering and in some cases straight-out lies like the following, quote, "Authorization cards are legally binding and mean you give up the right to speak for yourself." Yeah, because Amazon workers right now have such a right to speak for themselves, right? Then this really was unbelievable. Next to the fear-mongering, "know before you sign the union card," they say, "We're increasing your pay!" Exclamation point. Guess how much? By 50 cents to $1.50, starting on May 16th. So Natalie, who I spoke with, said to me, "Wow, 50 cents, I could retire now. That's amazing." So as they're union busting, they're promoting their 50 to $1.50 raises. Other messaging tells workers, "We are here for you," and urges them to reach out to your manager or HR immediately. Quote, "We want to hear from you and work with you." Well, wait till you hear this story. You'll see how much HR is there for the workers at Amazon. Natalie told me, "I went to HR in March 2020 and said there's a senior citizen I work with who has diabetes. She's more vulnerable to this COVID." And March 2020 was when it was erupting in New York. So can I get her an N95 mask? Because I know you guys, talking about the managers, supervisors, have them here because all of HR, all of the executives and managers were wearing N95 masks. And the HR representative just looked at me and without even hesitating said, "We're not giving them out to the workers. You have to have a doctor's note." So let's be clear about what that means. They're not giving out to the workers. They're not giving it out to the workers for two reasons. Priority was the customers over the workers. They needed enough to send out to the customers the N95 masks, which is completely morally bankrupt, that you're sending it out to your customers but not providing it to your workers. Jeff Bezos, who has 25 bathrooms in Washington, D.C., who has yachts, who literally has a spaceship that he's now getting a $10 billion fucking bailout from Joe Biden and the Democrats. You know that the Democratic Party is giving Jeff Bezos $10 billion because he didn't get the bid on some space program? $10 billion. That's not even corporate welfare. That's fucking corporate steroids. Other anti-union messaging posted inside the warehouse say, Quote, "Don't be fooled by the vest," referring to yellow union vests labor union organizers are wearing outside as they attempt to talk to workers and get them to sign union cards. The posters added, union representatives are approaching associates wearing Amazon vests to mislead you into thinking they represent or speak for Amazon. Don't be fooled by this. And by the way, just so you know, like a lot of these workers, because I was there, I saw the workers coming out of the warehouse and coming in for work. A lot of them are young. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to Amazon workers, but they'll hire anybody. If you have a pulse, they'll hire you. That's how Amazon exploits workers. You don't need you don't even need an associate's degree. Definitely not a bachelor's degree. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I don't think you should need a college degree for every job, but they're hiring a lot of young people. They're hiring a lot of young, impressionable people who read these messages, and most of these people don't watch the news. Most of these people work 2 or 3 jobs. Most Amazon workers have to work a second job. So these messages are a form of brainwashing to uninformed workers who don't understand their labor rights. And that is in part what happened in Bessemer. Yeah, there's older Amazon workers too, but a lot of the workers in this warehouse and at warehouses around the country are in their early to mid 20s, late 20s. They're not advanced in their education, political thinking, and this kind of messaging really intimidates, puts fear into people, and is effective. Let me read some more of this. Derek Palmer, the ALU leader, he's a worker there he's leading the organizing efforts to form a union. He called out Amazon's fear-mongering. He told Status Coup, "They're trying to say we're misleading people and misleading associates, which isn't true at all. I'm just showing them how long I've been here and the amount of work I've put in, so associates will relate to that." By the way, associates is Amazon's fancy word for indentured servants. They're workers. Palmer continued, "I just think it's sad that they underestimate the intelligence of their workers while trying to make more vulnerable employees paranoid. It comes off as desperation." That's exactly what I was just talking about. They're making more vulnerable employees paranoid that, oh, the boogeyman, oh, these union workers. It's almost like the tactics Fox News and the right wing use to demonize immigrants. A smaller sign says, "Don't be misled," with additional fear-mongering tactics that suggest ALU organizers might bother workers outside of work. Quote, "Organizers may even call you or try to visit your home," the sign reads, adding that no leader from Amazon will ever approach you outside of work or ask you for personal information and signature. That's rich, considering literally Amazon is the biggest corporate surveiller in the world. A report came out last year of the surveillance they're doing on workers, on labor unions, on environmental activists in Europe, and they're doing the same thing here. So they're feeding employees, oh, these union organizers, who, by the way, most of these union organizers are black and brown people. They're going to come to your house. They're gonna harass you. Meanwhile, Amazon's literally surveilling their workers' social media. They're literally surveilling their workers at the plant. They're literally surveilling them outside the plant. They had this union that's trying to unionize had a barbecue. Amazon had security workers literally taking video of it and pictures, and they're telling the workers, they're trying to fearmonger and intimidate the workers that, oh no, it's these, and I have another story coming out because one of their consultants, Amazon they hire an army of consultants to go to all of these warehouses to union bust and talk the workers out of unionizing. They literally said to one of the workers, oh, these organizers outside trying to unionize, they're a bunch of Black Lives Matter thugs. And I quote, Black Lives Matter thugs. Wait for that story. Should be out next week, right on the Substack you're reading from. I want to continue on. Another smaller sign reads, protect your signature, adding that workers should know who you're talking to and what you're signing before you sign something. The anti-union signs have also been put up in the bathrooms, leaving workers with no real area to go without being targeted by the anti-union onslaught. So it's in the bathrooms, it's in the break rooms, it's at the workstation, it's outside the building. Amazon's anti-union campaign also attempts to cast doubt on the financial integrity of the Congress of Essential Workers, a group started by fired Amazon worker Christian Smalls that is separate from the Amazon labor union that's trying to organize now at the Staten Island warehouse. One of the signs that Amazon put up, the Congress of Essential Workers, lack of financial accountability should matter to you. A TV screen message says, adding that AOU's website says, quote, union dues will be taken from each paycheck equal to roughly 1 hour's wages if they are able to successfully unionize. Quote, we used all donations to organize against them all year. They seem to have forgot that. Christian Smalls, the fired Amazon worker and founder of the Congress of Essential Workers, told Status Coup. I made the point at the end of this piece, the heavy anti-union campaign inside the warehouse during the early stages of this union effort, it's definitely a sign of things to come. It's going to get a lot worse. First defense, who the hell knows? Maybe they'll build a couple fences. Maybe they'll split up workers. But there is slight optimism. New York's not Alabama. Sure, we have a corrupt governor, Andrew Cuomo. Sure, you have a corrupt senator, Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand. Sure, you have Wall Street, which is very corrupting of our politicians and our country and our world. But New York, I believe, is number one in terms of unionized workers at 22%. Now, 22% is not great. It's certainly not what it was in the 1950s, 1960s. But for America, modern day, 22% unionized workers in New York, that's damn good. Alabama, where Bessemer's effort failed, they're at 8% in Alabama. So New York actually is a strong union state. The National Labor Relations Board, which nationally is a joke and has no teeth and lets companies like Amazon get away with all the illegal shit they did down in Alabama, including putting a mailbox outside the warehouse to try and intimidate the workers who would be voting. When you put a mailbox right outside, then the workers know, oh, they're watching us as we vote. That's intimidating. There are reports that Amazon security every day was accessing that mailbox, so we don't know if the votes were tampered with. But so far, the National Labor Relations Board has allowed this vote in Alabama to stand, even though report after report after report is Amazon literally broke multiple laws, including they got the area around the warehouse, the city, to change the street light pattern to slow down foot traffic. I mean, it's ridiculous. But in New York, the Attorney General, Letitia James, she has already sued Amazon. So we actually have an Attorney General here who has sued Amazon for illegally retaliating against Christian Smalls, their reckless endangerment of their employees during the coronavirus. I have a source telling me there's a big story coming out soon on Amazon's recklessness during the coronavirus for a major outlet. So it's not going to be as easy for them to get away with the illegal union busting. Sure, they could put up whatever signs they want inside Amazon. They shouldn't be able to, but they're going to get away with it. Sure, they have like $1 billion public relations operation. I mean, if you've seen these commercials now, they're putting up commercials. We're putting mindfulness pods in every Amazon warehouse where workers can just take a few minutes and go in the pod and be mindful and meditate and watch peaceful videos. Yeah, that's great. How much are you docking those workers? Oh, wait a minute. You make workers wear a band to track their productivity, so they're supposed to be comfortable going into a little meditation pod? It's a ridiculous joke. There's also word that they're trying to launch more. Now it's Amazon Prime, I believe, is or Amazon, whatever it is 4-hour delivery. They're trying to make 2 to 3-hour delivery. And are they raising the wages across the company? No. And I spoke with somebody who literally talked about the epidemic of Amazon fighting to pay worker disability. They are dodging their responsibility because, I mean, a large percentage of Amazon workers get hurt. A new report came out showing, I believe, I don't know the number, but it was an obscene amount of Amazon workers that have been hurt on the job, and Jeff Bezos will not pay for workers' comp, so they push them to go on the state disability. So like Walmart, like Target, like all these companies, you're paying for Jeff Bezos and Amazon basically harming and hurting their workers because Jeff Bezos will not pay workers' compensation and is pushing workers onto state disability. So I think, listen, it is not going to be an easy thing to unionize at Amazon. I don't want to lie to you. It's not going to be easy. However, I do think that the fact that this is in New York, from my conversation with a lot of the organizers there yesterday, some of whom were fired from Amazon Staten Island, some of whom still work there. I don't want to, knock the people in Bessemer. I wasn't there, but I think they are a little bit smarter. I think they already know Amazon's tricks. Some of these people have literally been dealing with Amazon for years. And from what they told me, some of it I can't report. At the moment, they're outsmarting Amazon in a few ways. But also, it's going to take the progressive movement to get an Amazon union in any warehouse over the finish line. It is going to take a massive organizing effort digitally, on the ground, all across. It's also going to take pressure on these hack corporate Democrats to say a little more than workers should have the right to unionize. Biden, Schumer, Gillibrand need to be challenged on literally this crazy shit that Amazon is doing at this warehouse, literally building a fence to block legal union activity. I thought Joe Biden said, I'm Union Man Joe. I'm middle class Joe. I'm lunch bucket Joe. Well, they're literally building a fence. What is this, Trump? They're building a fence to block workers. They're bombarding workers all day long with this union busting propaganda bullshit. People can't go to the bathroom. People can't go to the break room without being fed these brainwashing lies. And I don't know. I kind of think maybe progressives in New York, like AOC, maybe should talk about it. How about Jamal Bowman? Maybe you should go down to the warehouse and draw attention to what Amazon's doing. They got away with it in Alabama. They don't need to get away with it. They do not need to get away with it in New York. New York's the biggest media market in the world. If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamal Bowman, if they go to this warehouse and draw attention to these illegal activities Amazon is doing, it actually could make a difference. Will they? Judging by what they're doing right now, I'm not feeling great about it. But I will be on the ground very often. It's actually not far from where I am. I will be on the ground very often at this warehouse. You probably didn't see my live stream yesterday because YouTube has been hiding us. So you could check out that. We did, I think, an hour interviewing the leaders of the union effort, Christian Smalls, other workers. I stayed after the live stream and spoke with a couple workers. So I'll have a follow-up story. The shit they're telling me, this is some shit you hear in third world countries, what Amazon is doing to workers. So this needs to get out. This story needs to get picked up. I really hope you'll join our Substack and read the story that we broke there today. Again, has exclusive photos of the propaganda photos that Amazon is putting up all over the warehouse. Has the quotes with the workers. We're going to be doing more at Substack too. You could sign up for free at Substack. You could also sign up paid, I believe, for $5 a month. Obviously, Status Coup could only report in the field as far as you take us. So we really appreciate every Substack subscriber. But right now, you can sign up for free too. So definitely sign up, type in your email. I'll put in the link one more time. I also wanted to address, Jimmy and I talked about it a little bit, but Colin, if you could cue this back up. So literally, Joe Biden, as he abandons every single promise he made, which there wasn't a lot of them, as he abandons every promise, he's now reaching out to basically Bill Clinton's wingman, literally a Lawrence Summers, who's honestly worse than a lot of Republicans, who was shitting on shitting on giving stimulus checks, who fearmongers about inflation. Biden privately called Lawrence Summers, who's been criticizing the administration, By the way, if you don't know, Lawrence Summers was advising the Biden campaign. If you don't know who Lawrence Summers is, he literally pushed Glass-Steagall, which separated commercial and investment banking, and that led to the 2008 financial crash. He pushed NAFTA, which literally took a goddamn machete to the Midwest and other parts of the country, and is why half of these places, which I've been, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Pennsylvania, literally look like episodes of The Walking Dead, some parts of these cities. He's being framed by CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, the Washington Post as FDR. Why? Because he gave us a Band-Aid for a gunshot wound? Yeah, the COVID relief bill. It had some good things in it. It's all temporary, nothing structural. They're trying to gaslight you and gaslight everybody into thinking Biden is somehow picking up the mantle of FDR. Meanwhile, he's calling right-wing Democrats like Lawrence Summers. Biden made the call as the White House is weighing critical decisions on the economy, including how much and whether to trim a far-reaching infrastructure plan in response to Republican demands. The conversation also unfolded against the backdrops of warnings from Summers and others that Biden's spending plans present a risk of inflation and an overheating economy. You know, I love these fucks like Lawrence Summers. Excuse my French. We appreciate your super chats too. I love these fucks like Lawrence Summers who fearmonger about inflation. They don't seem to talk a lot about the inflation created by gentrification, which I call economic terrorism. They don't like to talk about the inflation caused by all of these corporations buying off our local and city level politicians so that we could put a Whole Foods on every corner, so we could literally build up 10 to 15 blocks in all of the cities around America, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Cleveland. I could go on. That is what's driving people out of their cities, people native to their cities who cannot afford the rent anymore, who cannot afford even going to the grocery store anymore. I was just on my honeymoon with my wife, obviously. We went at the end to San Francisco on Haight Street, one of the last bastions of free love, the 1960s, kind of a progressive time. They literally have a Whole Foods on the fucking side of Haight Street now. Okay? So they don't give a damn about inflation, i.e., prices going up everywhere because our politicians have literally sold our cities and the downtown areas to their real estate donors and to land grubbers, real estate, financial lawyers, Wall Street banks. They're literally selling off your towns and cities to corporations, driving you out. That's called inflation. Why don't we worry about that? Bernie, who I'm not happy with right now, was the only person on the campaign trail who talked about inflation. But Biden wants to call a disgraced, discredited buffoon, Lawrence Summers, to ask for his advice on how to, I don't know, get Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, Pat Toomey, Mitch Turkey Neck McConnell, get him over to our side? Are you fucking kidding me? The White House has downplayed the extent of the threat posed by inflation, arguing it will be transitionary and manageable, if necessary, by the Federal Reserve. Summers, the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton, top economic advisor to Obama, and former president of Harvard, is a prominent Democrat voice on economic matters. But he also has become a nemesis of the party's left flank, which sees him as a representative of a misguided centrism. This is part of the problem. Colin, I'm going to read this one more time. Is a prominent Democratic voice on economic matters. This is why we even created Status Coup, because we need a fucking journalistic coup d'etat. This Washington Post propaganda, prominent Democratic voice on economic matters. Oh yeah? In what world? The man who pushed Glass-Steagall, which destroyed the global financial economy, which people, even as the pandemic hit, were still recovering from the 2008 financial crash? This is the fucking mind of the left? The man who pushed Glass-Steagall, which actual intelligent economists like Richard Wolff were saying, if you repeal Glass-Steagall at the end of the 90s, you will have a financial cataclysm, which happened later. Oh, the man who, after he pushed Glass-Steagall as Obama's advisor, basically pushed Obama to water down the stimulus and give it and make the stimulus in 2009 and 2010 literally 2/3 tax cuts. Oh, the man who is a top advisor for Obama, who basically pushed Obama. Yeah, nothing we could do. You got to let the banks foreclose on these black and brown people. Millions of people foreclosed on through no fault of their own. Oh, the man who pushed NAFTA, which has destroyed the economy. And by the way, contrary to the corporate propaganda, Donald Trump didn't win because of Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump won because of NAFTA. How do I know? I was at the rallies in 2016 and 2020. I covered it because Status Coup goes in the field. Hint, hint, sign up. statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. I was at the rallies. Trump had these people at the rallies. He had them at NAFTA. He had them at NAFTA. These cities, these towns have been decimated by NAFTA. It didn't take a rocket scientist to see why they gravitated to Trump's message. Of course, Trump was full of shit. Of course, he did nothing to bring back jobs. Foxconn in Wisconsin was a gigantic con, but he sold it pretty well. But this goes back to what Jimmy and I were talking about. And by the way, we'll obviously post the interview I did with Jimmy for those of you that missed it. This goes back to what we were talking about. Like, at a certain point, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush. What more do you need to see? What more do you need to see that you can't move this man left, that you can't negotiate with Joe Biden, that it doesn't matter if his chief of staff will have a meeting with you. He's literally punking you right in front of your face. He's calling Lawrence Summers. And by the way, there's a reason Biden's calling Lawrence Summers. This is how this works, by the way. There's a reason this got leaked to the Washington Post. Biden also wants to send signals to his Wall Street donors. Biden also wants to send signals to his big pharma donors. Biden also wants to send signals to all the special interests that, oh yeah, all this FDR talk, all this huge infrastructure package, this is all for show. We're just doing business. Why does he want to do that? Why does he want to send that signal to Wall Street? Why does he want to send that signal that, don't worry about the COVID relief bill, don't worry about the checks, we'll be getting back to neoliberal business now that the pandemic's, quote, over, because Democrats are already in midterm election campaign mode. The DNC is currently fundraising like gangbusters from Wall Street, big donors. So Biden, he wants to signal to Wall Street, hey, baby, we're still open for business. Don't worry about this progressive language. Start donating now because we're going to have a tough road ahead of us to keep our slim margin in the House and to keep the Senate. It's perpetual campaigning. I got news for you. And now you have this bullshit, again, with the Senate parliamentarian. You have this bullshit with the Senate parliamentarian just ruled. Again, unelected bureaucrat, has no actual binding power. Every opinion is advisory. But now the media frames, the Senate parliamentarian has ruled that the Democrats could only use reconciliation, which allows them to pass a major legislation with no Republican votes only one more time this year, because the unelected Senate parliamentarian says so. I don't remember the Senate parliamentarian being on the debate stage with the 25 Democrats at one point. It's absurd. And I got to tell you, I typically don't use the sellout language, the fraud language. I try to not be, juvenile about it. But at this point, they are selling us out. I don't know what their motives are. I'm sure some of them are good people. They are selling us out. They're not fighting for the things that we donated to, that you volunteered for, that you donated for, that you phone banked for. They're not fighting for those things. I mean, other than tweeting and woke signaling, I don't see much fighting from progressives in the House, Frankly, I won't get into sources, but I know people in Bernie world that have basically told me, like, he's done. He's tired. Literally. I know people in Bernie's world that have literally told me he's done. He's sleep at the switch. So I don't know. I don't want to be super cynical. I try to give people hope, but I also keep it real. It's not looking good right now for the progressive movement. I think we're right now, particularly because we don't have elected leaders that are strategizing, galvanizing the troops, fighting for actual policies when they can be. They can. Right now, they could be fighting. And by simply saying, yeah, no, Biden, you want infrastructure? We'll talk about infrastructure after a $15 minimum wage. After that, other than that, we're not interested in talking infrastructure. You're not going to have our votes. We're not going to meet with your chief of staff. $15 minimum wage, then we'll talk infrastructure. Very simple. Very simple. Let the media crucify you. Let the media crucify you. It's very simple. But at a certain point, if they're not going to lead, you got to find people that will. I mean, Nina Turner right now, according to the polls, looks like she's doing incredibly well in her race. We're going to be going down to Cleveland to cover the race soon. I'm actually in contact with the campaign. When would be a good time to come cover the campaign? I wouldn't take anything for granted in that race. I think she's on target to win. She's gotten most of the endorsements, but never underestimate the national and local Democratic corruption. They're talking about, oh, we got to save democracy against Republican voter suppression. Yeah, Republican voter suppression is a real thing. I don't want to minimize it. Let's not minimize the Democratic Party election fraud, the Democratic Party suppression, and they'll try it. They'll try it in Cleveland and Akron, where Nina Turner's trying to get elected. So we'll be on the ground there, definitely for the election, maybe before too, because that's an important election. And I don't know. I don't want to put all my faith in Nina Turner, that she's going to knock some sense into these squad members. But for God's sakes, Pramila Jayapal is like, they literally writing Biden letters. Colin, if you could show this. This is the Rolling Stone one I sent you. More than 150 House Democrats call on Biden to expand Medicare. Quote, we respectfully request that you fulfill your commitment to expand and improve Medicare, the lawmakers said in a letter to the president that more than 70 Democrats signed on to. This is Pramila Jayapal was spearheading this. And guess what? As they asked the president to respectfully do this, they push lowering it to the age of 60. So, A, you're essentially asking him nicely, a man that says, I will veto it, and you're shooting yourself in the foot by saying, do it at 60? Why would you send him a letter asking for 60? Why would you not fight and make the point, oh, well, Hillary Clinton, she said 55. Why? Why would you not make the point that it should be everybody, obviously, I'm for Medicare for all. Why would you not fight for 55? Start there. Maybe you meet in the middle at 58. Is it good enough? No. But do these people not even know how to negotiate? Don't send him letters. Make demands. Let me tell you something. Newt Gingrich is a totally morally bankrupt vulture. But, you know, those Contract for America Republicans, they made demands. And at times, Bill Clinton backed down. At times, Bill Clinton didn't. At times, they agreed on a lot of right-wing shit like welfare reform. Same thing with the Tea Party. The Tea Party didn't send John Boehner a nice letter asking for cookies. They fucking burned the house down. And I know the argument. Well, Jordan, you know, the squad is more, you know, they have morals, so they'd rather something than nothing. Right. But the something you're getting is ultimately nothing. The something that you are getting is ultimately nothing. The COVID relief bill, fine. If you want to say they shouldn't have played hardball with that, because people desperately needed help. Okay. I don't agree with that, but okay. But the bottom line is that's over, and it was all temporary. So this guy who ran on Build Back Better and we need to, change things structurally and yada, 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 obviously all bullshit. Well, he's not doing anything structural. And he's calling Lawrence Summers, which means he's moving to the right. He's not moving to the left. He's moving to the right. So, I don't want to give you a wrong enemy. I think Chuck Schumer is your enemy, political enemy. I'm not talking about violence. I think Chuck Schumer is your enemy. I think Nancy Pelosi is your enemy. Biden is your enemy. McConnell is your enemy. Josh Hawley and these lunatics are your enemy. I don't really cover her because she's basically Trump with different parts, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is a danger. She's a dangerous, dangerous person and has no business in any office. But if these progressives are not going to be part of the solution, then they're part of the problem. And I tried to be more diplomatic and more nuanced about it. But at this point, if they are not going to fight, if all they're going to do is tweet, then they're part of the problem. Because I got news for you. Do I think the roads are a problem in America? Yeah. Do we need infrastructure improvements? Yeah. But even buying into the framing by Joe Biden that the highest priority is infrastructure, the highest priority is not infrastructure, folks. It's not. I know, I think we could walk and chew gum at the same time. We should have an infrastructure bill. We should have more electric vehicles, more trains, less combustion vehicles, new highways, new airports. I'm all for it. The highest priority is healthcare and a minimum wage increase. That's the highest priority. And the fact that these progressives are writing letters, kindly asking, respectfully asking, sir, he's asked with your letters as he's on the phone with Lawrence Summers. It's fucking absurd. Absolutely absurd. So, I don't know what else to tell you. But it's kind of a sad story in the progressive movement right now. And by the way, also, like, Joe Biden is still living in the 1980s. This notion that, he's waiting to try and pass something with the Republicans, this notion that, like, he has consultants and advisors around him telling him, like, the voters will thank you even if you don't get it done. Do you really, I'm talking to the progressives in the House, Senate, do you really want to go into a midterm election, go into 2024 with the only thing you did is, their slogan, we put shots in your arm and money in your pocket? Well, you got 11 million people are facing eviction at the end of June. By the way, we're currently working on booking an eviction tour. If you remember, Status Coup viewers, we did a COVID depression tour last year where we went Pennsylvania, Ohio, Louisville, Michigan, interviewing people that were literally economically destroyed during the pandemic with no help, by the way. So we want to do another tour because evictions are coming at the end of this month. States around are now prematurely taking away unemployment from people who can't get jobs. This whole worker shortage bullshit. Yeah, there's a worker shortage because there's a living wage shortage. That's the worker shortage. There's a living wage shortage. So we're currently working on booking a trip, a road trip, a reporting trip. Yes, I know it's radical. Actually going out in the field, which we do at Status Coup, and talking to the people rather than doing what CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, Washington Post does, which is endless propaganda. Oh, the economy is roaring back. Oh, it's roaring back, I tell you. Oh, the economy's, doing just jiffy. Oh, all these retail jobs and service sector jobs came back. Oh, yeah? Well, guess what those jobs are that are coming back. Take a guess. They're certainly not, six-figure jobs. They're certainly not jobs with human dignity. They're restaurants, bars. I'm not knocking those workers, but they're not, white collar jobs. Let's put it that way. So give me a fucking break. Give me a break. It's really getting ridiculous. And I'm tired because honestly, I see it when I travel. And thank you so much for the super chats. Keep them coming. We really need your help. There is a progressive movement out there waiting for a signal. There is organizers, young people, old people, activists, volunteers. They are out there. There are people ready to protest. There are people ready to economically protest. They're waiting for a signal. Right now, the only people really giving it to them are Jimmy Dore. Me, Chris Hedges, Lee Camp. We got almost 1,000 people watching. These people want to do more than watch the content. They want to go out and pressure change. They want to go out and shame politicians. They want to go out and fight for Medicare for all. They want to go out and fight for a $25 minimum wage. $15 minimum wage is the conservative position. They want to go out and shame Wall Street donors. Remember the activists who were causing a ruckus at Pete Buttigieg's little wine cave fundraisers. They want to go out and stop these pipelines. But they don't have anyone galvanizing them. Bernie right now, Pramila Jayapal gave Joe Biden an A+ record. Jessica said, it's seriously embarrassing. And I got to tell you, part of why we do this at Status Coup, and I really hope if you're new here, subscribe to this channel. I really, really hope if you have the means, you will support us. You can become a member, statuscoup.com/join. We're having our members call on Tuesday through Zoom. For those of you that don't know, your membership, we do a monthly members call with our members. We do behind the scenes videos. You get access to our members only Discord. So we're doing our members only call Tuesday night through Zoom. We haven't done it in a while, but we're doing it Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. If you're a member, you'll get the link. So statuscoup.com/join, statuscoup.com/join. I actually recorded a members video last night, so I'm going to post it after this, a new members video. But we need you. As humbly as I could say it, I love all my friends in progressive media. We're the only ones going out in the field right now. There's very few outlets that go out in the field, in the trenches, and it's expensive. Got to pay me, Jen, Colin, John, who does our camera work. These trips, on average, could cost $2 to $3 grand per trip. Equipment, flights, hotels, rent-a-car, food. A lot of people say, stop asking for money. Well, if you want to give me access to your money tree in your backyard, please do. If it's not a corrupt money tree. So totally appreciate if you can't. Tough times for everybody. But if you can, statuscoup.com/join, become a member for as low as $5 a month. Right now, we're at 1,885 members. 1,885 members. We really, really want to get to 2,000 really quickly. And by the way, membership is how we get around the YouTube suppression. Today, we had a good audience, thanks to Jimmy. Day to day, nobody knows when we're live. Nobody's seeing our videos. So another thing you could do, please, I don't know if I completely trust YouTube. Go to the subscribe button where you've subscribed. Make sure you're still subscribed, first of all. Hover over the bell hover over the bell. Make sure you click the bell and make sure it's on all notifications. I can't tell you how many people have told me, Jordan, it's not on all notifications when I clicked all notifications. So make sure you have it set for all notifications. Very important. We're also on Instagram. That's instagram.com/status coup. We're doing a lot more stuff on Instagram. We're also on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/status coup. We're not talking about it. We're showing you. I was at the Amazon warehouse yesterday. Colin is going out in the field soon to cover some stories. Jen will be out in the field. Like I said, we want to do this eviction tour. Batter, Jimmy never asked for money. Well, God bless Jimmy, but Jimmy also doesn't go in the field and doesn't have a crew that goes in the field and doesn't have to cover travel costs. So it's a little different. I love Jimmy, but money doesn't grow on trees. The corporate media will not cover Flint. For those of you that don't know, Jen and I have been working on a massive Flint story. Unfortunately, it's been sitting with an outlet for weeks. We just spoke with that outlet, and finally it's moving along. So another major Flint investigation is about to come out. We likely will go back to Flint once this breaks. It's big. I like to under promise and over deliver. I will say pretty damn big, this story. Pretty damn big. To the point where I just reached out for comment to a government agency who we basically caught in corruption. And their response was, we don't care to comment. That's about as you got us as it gets. When a government agent says, we don't care to comment, when you've caught them and state officials doing potentially criminal things, that's about as good as it gets in terms of you caught us. So I really hope, listen, support whoever you want, whether it's commentators, whether it's in the field reporting. I'll just tell you, in the field reporting is super, super important. Staying on the stories like Flint, staying on the pipeline fights, staying on the Amazon union busting, staying on, we want to do this evictions tour. Welcome, new member Bonnie just signed up. Welcome, Bonnie. Let's keep those new members coming. Staying on these stories is super important because obviously there's room for everybody. The commentators, I know Crystal and Sagar have a new show starting. I really check out my interview with Crystal. We posted today. I think it's about 20 minutes. She talks about why she left the Hill. She really spilled some tea in my interview with Crystal. That's up on this channel. We just posted it this morning, including Kyle being blocked from the show and a whole lot of other shit that the Hill was pulling on Crystal. But there you go. Scum77 says, I've been subscribed for months, and this is the first time I've seen a live stream. Part of why this is the first time you've seen a live stream is literally YouTube has buried us in its algorithm. Literally, YouTube has buried us in our algorithm. So again, make sure you have it on all notifications. We post about 4 or 5 videos a day. We typically go live Monday through Friday, sometimes on Sundays. Make sure you have it on all notifications. Also, sign up for our email list. We won't kill you with emails. Statuscoup.pub, is it, Jen? I think it's Status Coup. Let me make sure I got it right. Yeah, statuscoup.pub. I don't know if I got that right. Jen will put it in the super chat. Make sure you sign up for our email list because we're emailing. We're having to email people right now to tell them when we're live. New member Morgan. Woohoo! But membership is how we grow. Membership is how we grow. And it's, by the way, membership is how we stay in business while YouTube is screwing us. We're also having some conversations with another platform about possibly doing some things there exclusively. So we're working on things behind the scenes. But we need you to help us grow. Join our email list, statuscoup.pub/email. Jen just put it in there. And we don't really spam you with emails. We don't email every day. We're certainly not begging people like TYT was 3 times a day. Occasionally we ask for money. A lot of times we'll email you out a new story that we just broke. We'll email you out where we're going to be live next. So we're not spamming people crazily, this and that. But Yep. Let me read a couple questions, comments, concerns before I go. Jimmy is on every real progressive site ever existed. TYT just self-promotes. I got to tell you, I mean, I don't really talk about TYT that much. Obviously, they fired me. I don't, it's not something I think about actively anymore. But it's embarrassing watching them now. It really is embarrassing. I don't particularly care if certain outlets, have different views on certain things. To me, Cenk is a lot more conservative than he was back in the mid 2000s. But it's like a balloon that's been deflated. Watching them, it's just like stale corporate talking points. I mean, the other day when they don't like Aaron Mate for some reason, but without any evidence or proof, you say he's working for Russia. That's kind of like what the Daily Beast would do. That's kind of what MSNBC Rachel Maddow would do. But TYT is like red scaring with no evidence, claiming award-winning journalists who do good work, and he was just in Syria doing reporting, are essentially Russian agents. I mean, it's embarrassing. And honestly, I don't really talk to anyone there anymore, but I just wonder what the people think, because when I worked there was a lot of hardcore progressives in that newsroom, not on camera, the behind-the-scenes people. Like watching this crap, like Anna, I mean, some of the stuff she does is, frankly, I thought it when I was there, is not the most well-researched, shall I say. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And what really turned me off also was Cenk wouldn't do anything for Forced to Vote out of vanity because it was Jimmy's idea. And I said during Forced to Vote, I was for the idea, had mild critiques here and there with the approach, but I was for the idea. But like Cenk was shitting on it, saying, no, now's not the time. And then like 2 months later, he's literally, without using the term forced to vote, advocating for forced to vote, advocating for progressives to withhold their vote for Biden's infrastructure. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it's beyond a wasted opportunity. They say they actually have resources and they use it to basically do, 50 videos a week on Republicans, some on Democrats, and just bullshit. So, it's a shame. I mean, obviously, I don't like how things ended there. I won't get into it, but I don't like how things ended. One day, maybe I'll reveal some things about a lot of shadiness that went on towards me, and frankly, not progressive things that were done against me. But, they have a big microphone still, and they use it to spew bullshit and propaganda, which is a shame. It's a complete shame. They also have the resources, way more resources in Status Coup, to actually have reporters go out in the field and report on the progressive issues that need more attention. Are they doing it? No. Have they gone to Flint since I got canned? Not once. Are they covering any pipeline battles in the field? Not that I could see. Are they at Amazon's warehouse interviewing workers who are being union busted? They're not doing anything. So that's my TYT spiel. I can't wait one day. Wait for my tell-all. Jen was there for most of it. Jen, co-founder of Status Coup, she was there for most of it. It's pretty sad. So again, we're doing our eviction tour soon. We're going to book that soon. That's going to be a reporting trip through many states. We're going to interview people facing eviction. We're going to interview people on their economic deathbed. We're going to interview people who are being pulled off unemployment. We probably will interview workers and waitresses, which we did on our last COVID tour. We're probably going to interview, spearhead. probably do one or two other stories on the road. I've been itching to go to West Virginia to expose that shit Joe Manchin. So we might try to dovetail West Virginia into that. We're thinking in the next few weeks we're going to go on this tour. And by the way, if you don't know, again, the evictions moratorium is up at the end of this month. And why that's important? Literally, the Bronx in New York, for example, they literally already have 50,000 eviction notices. That's 50,000 people in the Bronx about to be evicted as soon as the moratorium is lifted. Literally, I'm getting viewers messaging me and DMing me on Twitter. By the way, I do still exist on Twitter at Jordan Chariton, because Twitter's not showing my tweets either. We're at Status Coup, so follow at Status Coup. I'm at Jordan Chariton, literally telling me, oh, they're already doing it, even though the moratorium hasn't officially expired. Somebody emailed me in Illinois showing me motels with huge, like the parking lot's full with motels. Brian S., please keep covering Flint and other issues on the ground. We'll keep covering it as long as you keep funding us to go. That's the deal. We're not here to be rich, but we are here to actually get enough money to continually go out. Flint, this eviction tour, paying, myself, Jen, a cameraman, Colin, travel, it all costs a lot of money. And that's why we built this through a membership model. We expected things to get a little rough on YouTube. We expected them to suppress us. So please, if you can, if you can't, we get it. If you can, please consider supporting us. I'm not like sending you fundraising emails every day and begging. Obviously, some people just can't right now, and that's totally okay. If you can't support us financially, of course, like the streams, share the streams, all that stuff. Make sure, again, check next to the subscribe button, hover over the bell. Make sure you have it set to all notifications. Very, very important. But if you can support us, you can become a member as low as $5 a month. Again, we have our members only call coming up next week. We have behind the scenes videos we do just for members. You get access to our Discord. So a lot of great stuff. And by the way, we just got a bunch of new members signing up. Welcome Alan, welcome Lance, welcome Ben, welcome Bonnie, welcome Morgan, and welcome Jenna. So we just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new members. Woohoo! So we're now at 1,886. So we're 14 members away from 1,900. And then we could set our sights on 2,000. And by the way, you might have not seen, we were one of the only outlets in the field covering the Dante Wright protests in Minneapolis. We were one of the only outlets covering the Andrew Brown protests in North Carolina. So we go out without the resources of a TYT, certainly without the resources of CNN, and we're in the trenches. So I really hope, if you can, support us. Let me read a couple comments, questions, concerns before I part. Welcome, fam. Welcome, new members. Please, people who give dollars to TYT should care deeply about their dollars, what their dollars is going to, losing wagers at the track. Jank is a very, very bad handicapper. Ooh, is Jank going to the track? Interesting. As Jen said, it simply costs a lot more than it does to report in studio. Yeah, I mean, we love Jimmy, we love Kyle, we love all these people. They do not, let me be clear, they do not have the overhead that we have. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Traveling, just the flights, just the hotels, the rent-a-cars, just to broadcast monthly our live view that we go out in the field to use, that's costing us almost $1,000 a month, our broadcasting equipment. So the marketing costs, social media costs. We just brought on Colin, who, by the way, is behind the scenes, how I'm able to just cut to the video, how I'm able to, show you stuff more seamlessly. That's Colin. Colin is doing it behind the scenes. You don't see him, but he's doing great work. He edits the videos, doing some promo stuff for us. So he's now with us on a more permanent basis. He was part-time for a long time, but now he's with us more permanently. So, we want to bring on more people. We wanted to hire somebody in the Midwest. But we kind of had to put a hold on it for now because of the suppression that's going on. But the more members we get, the more we can work around that suppression. So definitely sign up. We just got another one, Jakan. Welcome, Jacan. We're now at 87 members. Let me read a couple more comments, questions, concerns. Who's the most progressive? That's a good question. To me, I think actions speak louder than words. So look at which progressive media outlets are actually in the trenches. If you want to know who's the most progressive, it's easy to just commentate, and I'm not shitting on it. I think Kyle works really hard. Crystal and Sagar work really hard. Jimmy works extremely hard. It's a different level going out there, and literally the weekends, the night work, the holiday work, in the trenches, covering stories that CNN is not. CNN is not. Yes, Vicky Blair, you could help Status Coup keep on stories in the field and no one else covers for just $5 a month. Status Coup, you ever do a foundation live stream before you hit the road to do some on-the-ground journalism? Yeah, we've done that. We've fundraised before we've gone on the road. We've fundraised while we're on the road. So yes, we've definitely done that for sure. In some cases, viewers really came through when we were on the road. We raised, $4,000 or $5,000 sometimes while we're on the road, which allowed us to stay on the road longer. So yeah, definitely. I believe TYT took a turn after Hillary became the nominee, but I could be wrong. Nope, you're not. I was there. They definitely did. Lee Camp and Eleanor Goldfield are great. Yeah, I love Lee Camp. I really do like Lee. Gray Zone, I like. Jimmy, obviously. Definitely. Let's see. Max has been doing, Mate has been doing great work for sure. The channels without reporters on the ground should contribute dollars to Status Coup. Hey, Ben, start that campaign. That would be awesome. And by the way, behind the scenes, I've said to Jimmy forever, let's team up. Let's partner up. So just so you know, I've pitched it. I've pitched different outlets coming together. I've pitched different individuals coming together, forming a type of network. You'd be surprised. It's been tough. It's been tough to get people to agree to that, because I think, I'm not trying to borrow from Hillary Clinton, I do think we'd be stronger together. I think right now you got a lot of progressive media living on their own islands, where if we came together as a unified network, each entity could have its own individual brand. Each entity could have its own individual, separate Patreons or whatever. But if you came together as one network, it would be a force. Yes, I love Abby Martin. She's done great work, particularly on Palestine, for sure. We just got a couple new members, so I want to give more shout outs. Welcome, Sean, just signed up. Welcome, Roger. Welcome, Brian. We're now at 1,889. Holy cow, it's raining members now. 1,889. So we're just 11 members away from 1,900. Could we get a couple more members while I'm live? Oh yeah, we've tried to get on Chapo Trap House. We've reached out to Joe Rogan's booker. Crickets. So if you want to start the campaign, we'd love to go on Chapo Trap House. We'd love to go on Joe Rogan. We would love to go on. I would love to go on Kyle's show. I know he doesn't have guests all the time. I've reached out to him before. Haven't gotten it. We'd love to go on the Bad Faith podcast. We'd love to go on Kyle and Crystal's. Crystal and Kyle's podcast. Crystal and Sagar's new show. I'll go on it all. KD Sveen, $10. Here's $10 I used to give to Majority Report. Keep up the on-the-ground reporting. Thank you. Oh, Majority Report. That's another embarrassing show. I saw a video they did a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, people watch this? It was so academic and vanilla and just totally disconnected from what people are actually dealing with. It was borderline Chris Hayes wonk bullshit. So yeah, I really, really appreciate the new members. I really, really appreciate the support. I think progressives need to bandy together. I'll say it. It's going to take viewers at this point. If you see what YouTube is doing, it's going to take the viewers. So, I think a lot of times people think oh yeah, they're just asking for money, this and that. Like, no. Legitimately, we as progressive media will not survive long term, because eventually these platforms will become even more aggressive. We'll find reasons to kick people off without a stable base of supporters. That's the truth. Status Coup will always figure out a way. Jen, my co-founder, who's in the chat right now, she's a lot more optimistic than me. I'm the Debbie Downer usually. But as she says, we'll always find a way. But we need support. That's the truth. We need support. And, honestly, there's a lot of these channels out there that are just doing clickbait bullshit. Sure, this headline was a little clickbaity, I'll admit. But there's a lot of channels just doing clickbaity bullshit constantly about this person attacks this person and this person blasts this person and this and that. None of them are leaving their apartments or homes or wherever. It's not a knock. They're all great. It really requires financial support to do the in the field reporting. So I know I sound like a broken record, but I hope you know what we're asking of you, we're actually providing. There's a lot of places, including TYT, that begged for money. And they have these, highly paid email marketing people, and they sloganeer that we're going to do this and we're going to get Medicare for all, give us $20 emergency donation. How many emails have you gotten from Jank with empty promises of revolution and blah, 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 and give money. And then what do they do with it? What do they do with it? Nothing. They squander it. In the TYT example, or worse, who knows what they did with that $20 million? I would like to know. $20 million they got from Jeffrey Katzenberg. So yeah, definitely consider. For those new members that just signed up, you'll get the link to our members call on Tuesday. We're going to do it Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific. We usually go in our members call about 2-3 hours on Zoom. It's a lot of fun. TMI also, because we always share way too much. Way too much. So that will be Tuesday night. You'll get a link. Also, our patrons get it too. I want to point out, Sam says, first time I've heard about Status Coup, to be honest, is today. The reason for that, Sam, is you're on a platform right now that is hiding many, many platforms from you, many channels from you. So it's very possible you've never seen us before, because unless there's like a major guest or this and that, YouTube's algorithm, and YouTube's CEO just openly admitted this, is literally hiding independent channels, or as they call borderline channels. So they're depriving from you, Sam, and others the opportunity to choose which channels you want to watch. Maybe if you see us, you wouldn't want to watch. Who knows? But that's why I have people literally that watch me at the Young Turks. I got fired in 2017. We get comments today. Oh, Jordan, you're back. Status Coup has been in business since 2018. They just are seeing us for the first time. This is why I asked Jimmy about like this suppression. What do we do about this? Because to me, this is Silicon Valley is the biggest threat right now to the progressive movement, because you can't achieve anything if the majority of people have not a clue what's going on. Like, for example, the report I did yesterday from Amazon's warehouse in Staten Island. We have 118,000 subscribers. I think we had like 280 at the highest live viewers. 280 live viewers for an in-the-field report outside Amazon's warehouse showing you a fence that they have put up to block workers from unionizing. 280 viewers. Do people suddenly not give a shit about union busting? About corporate scum? About economic Hunger Games? Do people not want to hear from Amazon workers who are sharing horror stories about what's being done to them inside? One of them told me yesterday it was modern day slavery. Or are people not actually seeing it? So, yeah, definitely support us. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. I'll read a couple more comments before I go. Hold on. 222. Oh, just got a new one. Welcome, Sean. We're now 10 members away. 10 members away from 1900. Holy cow. Dave, $10. Thank you, Status Coup. Flint still doesn't have clean water. What the fuck? Dave, I will tell you this, and Jen could tell you because she's reading it right now. There's a story we've been working on, and I know some Status Coup viewers are like, Jordan, stop talking about it. Wait till the story's out because we're going to tell you the behind the scenes, why it's been stuck. Literally, this story, to me, is Watergate level. It's related to Flint and the cover-up. This story is Watergate level. The only reason Watergate gets the acclaim it did is because it was the president and because his voice was on tape and he was caught. This story shows you a massive cover-up, the specifics of that cover-up, and frankly, who is still getting away with that cover-up. And it's Flint. It's Flint. We have stayed on Flint. I literally had somebody ask me, a young reporter asked me, she called me and she's interested in Flint. I think she's writing a book or something like that. You know, what motivates you to stay on it? Because it's like 7 years later. Like, why do you keep reporting on this? Like, the stories you're breaking are good, but it doesn't seem like it's changing much. And I said to them, who else is going to do it? Who else is going to cover Flint? Who else is going to continue investigating the cover-up? Should we just allow Americans to be poisoned and then left to die by their government? Should we do it that way? I said, I don't care if it's 7 days later. I don't care if it's 7 weeks later, 7 months later, 7 years later, 20 years later. Flint is not just about the city of Flint. It's not just about water. It's about the United Corporations of America. The United Corporations of America. Flint was a privatization scheme. Flint was racism. I don't bother with the term environmental racism. It's just racism. Flint wouldn't have happened without the controlled demolition of the middle class. Flint was once the envy of the rest of the country. It was a huge union town, General Motors, all that. And then Biden, Democrats, Republicans sold all the jobs offshore. And thank you, by the way, for all these GoFundMe donations, too. We do have a reporting GoFundMe, too. So we just got a couple great donations. So thank you. To, let me get their names. Roger and Zuleka and Justin in the GoFundMe reporting. So that's why we stay on it. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's frustrating. We've broken several Flint stories and the corporate media won't cover it. The corporate media won't touch it. Hell, we have a hard enough time getting independent media to cover it. But you should still care because Flint is happening in many other cities. Trust me. Your water, don't be comfortable that your water is just fine. Your water is traveling through infrastructure in many places that is 75 to 100 years old. Lead, copper, arsenic, PFAS, bacteria is through a lot of water in this country. Okay? And local cities, and they're throwing Band-Aids at it. They add in phosphates and other things that scientific experts tell you, oh, eliminate the lead, eliminate the bacteria. No. I've covered it in Flint, East Chicago, North Carolina, Milwaukee, and many other places. And they're also trying to privatize water systems around the country because cities are so broke that they are basically selling off their water, which in many cases is the main asset for cities, their water systems, to private vultures. So do not think that Flint can't be your city next. So definitely stay tuned. We're definitely excited for breaking that story soon. We think it's going to be in the next few weeks. So definitely get excited for that. Just got another new member. Welcome, Sean. We're now 9 members away from 1,900, 1,891. Whoa, this is exciting. I think we've gotten like 10 to 12 new members during this live stream. So, hey, please, if you could support us, 9 more of you. If we can get to 1,900, it'd be a really fun members call on Tuesday. Frankly, I've been struggling the last few weeks with depression. I'm feeling a little better today, so that's positive. But I'm really looking forward to the members call because I don't want to be cheesy. Those member calls, it's like talking to your friends for 2-3 hours on a Zoom. I really we see a lot of the same people join the calls constantly. I hope new people join for this Tuesday, but I really, really enjoy the connection I have with members on those calls. Oh, we also, thanks Edward for Cash App support. We do have a Cash App. So thank you, Edward, for donating to our Cash App. You could support Status Coup via Cash App, via $Status Coup, $Status Coup. That's our Cash App. So, by the way, I have reached out to Steven Donziger several times for an interview. I reached out to him we reached out to him while I was on my honeymoon. So we want to interview Steven Donziger. That is, if you're not familiar with that story, this is one of the biggest legal system corruption stories. And that's saying a lot in this corrupt country. Honestly, that I've ever heard. A human rights lawyer who literally has fought for justice for poor Ecuadorians who were poisoned by Chevron has literally been railroaded through the American injustice system. So Stephen got back to me through DM. I'm still trying to nail down a time, but I definitely want to interview Steven Donziger. So don't think we haven't been working on that. So yeah, we got a lot of good things coming up down the pipe. If you haven't signed up for our Substack yet, go there right now. I posted 2 stories this week. In some cases, it'll just be kind of like commentary opinion pieces. In some cases, it will be, more investigative reporting, like the Amazon story that I wrote today. You could sign up for free right now. There's also paid options too. So obviously, whatever you prefer. We are trying to also kind of branch out. So get a different revenue stream from Substack. So, there will be certain stuff for free subscribers, certain stuff for paid Substack subscribers. I think you could subscribe for $5 a month. And we'll be writing, breaking a lot of stories at our Substack. And it's what's the address there? statuscoup.substack.com, statuscoup.substack.com. So you definitely check that out. And I think Substack is a great new model. I know a lot of the corporate media is shitting on it because they don't like competition. So they're trying to make Substack sound like, some nefarious foreign journalist. But Substack just kind of cuts out the middleman. And let me tell you something. It is very nice not to have an editor. Because I've had editors before, and most corporate media editors exist not to make your stories better, to water down your stories. And frankly, distort the truth. Trust me. That will be in my tell-all too. That'll definitely be in my tell-all. So definitely check us out on Substack. Again, you could sign up for free. You could also sign up paid, whatever floats your boat. What happened to those shovel-ready jobs? Yep, they're still shoveling. For sure. It's just one long line of tyranny, Dore says. It's just one long line of tyranny. Assange, Snowden, Kirkow, now it's Donziger, and then the media called out China for humanitarian neglect. By the way, I love Joe Biden and his State Department and Anthony Blinken going around talking about, humanitarian violence, a humanitarian crisis in China. Meanwhile, We have literally armed Saudi Arabia for half a decade to commit genocide in Yemen. We are exclusively funding Israel, who just carpet bombed Gaza and killed hundreds of people, including children. Now we might be giving even more emergency money to Israel. Netanyahu is out, and replacing him as an even more extreme right winger in Israel. So that's not good. Let's not to mention our coup d'etats, our violent coup d'etats in Iran, Congo, Somalia, attempted coups in Venezuela, us starving the masses in Iran, in Russia, in Venezuela with our crippling sanctions. But yeah, we're so worried about human rights and the humanitarian crisis around the world. Crises, by the way, that we're creating. That's good. All right, folks. JC donning a $1,200 suit coat. I got this in H&M. Pretty sure it was $75. Pretty sure this was $75. I don't think I own any outfit that was $1,200. Yo, Jordan. Oh, I didn't mention Afghanistan. Thank you very much. By the way, let's be critical. If Biden actually pulls all the troops out of Afghanistan, I'll be the first one to give him credit. But we supposedly pulled out all the troops out of Iraq, only to learn later, oh, we still had 3,000 to 4,000 troops in Iraq, or advisors. So let's actually scrutinize and do an audit if he's pulling all the troops out of Afghanistan. If he does, wonderful. If he does, wonderful. Tony says Snyder should be in prison with Derek Chauvin. Can you believe this motherfucker, Derek Chauvin? They literally just asked the judge to change his sentence to probation and time served. The just sociopathic arrogance of police officers in this country and their police unions. This man who strangled George Floyd to death is asking for probation. Meanwhile, you have a massive cover-up down in North Carolina. We saw the tape. Andrew Brown was murdered. I don't care what the hell this district attorney, who from what I hear is actually corrupt, says. That video showed Andrew Brown was driving away from police. He did not drive into police. They showed up to serve him a search warrant as if they were in a Call of Duty game with bazooka guns already out pointed at him right when they got off the truck. They're covering it up down there in North Carolina. They haven't even released the whole video. And in Louisiana, literally, we saw a George Floyd level strangulation of Ronald Green. None of these cops have been arrested. None of these cops have been arrested. We have to investigate. Meanwhile, we found out one of the police officers who was on the ground strangling him to death didn't bring his body camera, or hid that he had his body camera on for 2 years. I mean, it's just obscene. It's obscene. So we'll keep getting out there. Thank you so much to our new members that signed up today. Right now, we are, let me count them, 9 members away from 1,900. So I really hope you can become a member anytime. Statuscoup.com/join. $5 a month. $5 a month. That's all I'm asking. $5 a month. Yes, I did rip my salmon shorts. I have to go take them to get them sewed back together. I do love my salmon shorts that the audience makes fun of me for. So I have to go get those sewed back together so I can wear them when I'm back in the field. The audience is has a lot of commentary about my wardrobe. So please, if you can, there's the visual. We just need 9 more of you to get to 1,900, and then we could focus on 2,000. So please sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. Tuesday night members call. I'm actually posting a members video after this. So members, go to statuscoup.com and click on member content on the top tab. You'll have a new members video up tonight. I'm posting that I shot earlier today. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks, Jimmy, for coming on. I really appreciate it. By the way, if you don't know, you could also get on our text list. Text COUP to 370-370. Text COUP to 370-370. And you'll get a text message when we're live. It is costing us way too much money for this text list. We might be changing some things around with that, but for now, you could get on our text list, which gives you a text message when we're live. Jen and I looked at how much we've spent on this text list, and we both almost threw up. So please make it worth it. Make it worth it. Join our text list. Text COUP to 370-370. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you back here tomorrow. For those of you that don't know, we usually go live around 4 o'clock Eastern, between 4 and 4:30 Eastern. I'm trying to go live now at 4 o'clock Eastern. So that's 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. Make sure, one more time, make sure, go to the area where it says subscribed, click over the bell, and make sure it says all notifications. I have a lot of viewers telling me that they were changed. They set it to all and it got changed. Isn't that interesting? So make sure you set it for all notifications.